Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom, top. Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Bim, bam, bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. Yay, da, 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 bim. Bam, bim, 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 bam.
Bim, 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 bam.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Great to have everybody both here in person and for those that are watching on YouTube or on Facebook to have you with us as well. Tonight's Shabbat service is one of our Kabbalat Shabbat services, our welcoming of Shabbat, the service that was created by the mystics in Tzfat hundreds of years ago. And so it's our meditation style service that we'll have. And so there's no prayer books though. When we get to the Kaddish, we'll put that out for everybody so that you can join together in those words and have them for you as well. But as we do that, it's a chance for us to be able to just sit back and to soak in our week and reflect on it and think about Shabbat and resting and re-energizing. And so throughout our service, we'll have a few different meditations and a chance to just soak things in, whether it's that sunlight that's upon your face, the nice cool breeze, or the comfort of your chair or bed at home as we do that. But as we always do, it's always nice to take a moment to get to know the people who are part of our community. And so if you're here in person, to turn to the people in front of you or behind you or next to you, introduce yourself and wish them a Shabbat Shalom. And for our online members who are joining us, part of our congregation, to put something in the chat as well. Just like I saw the Kellys did and the Ledgers did. And Barbara Pollock, Shabbat Shalom to you and Gary and Bunny and Alan and Michael Rosen. Good Shabbos to you all.
I come with joy, I come with hope, I come with vision and intention, I come with prayer, I come with love, with searching and sacred questions. Hineni, here I am. I come with peace of mind. I know just where I stand. Here I am, Hineni, Hineni, here I am. I come with peace of mind. I come with peace of mind. I know just where I stand. I know just where I stand. Here I am. Here I am.
So for those that were with us last week, you may remember that at the end of services during Tish, there was a question about the efficacy of our prayer and how they really relate to our lives. And I talked about really our prayers at times being a mission statement for us, a reminder of what we hope for in our world as we partner with God. And some of you know that on Friday afternoons, Rabbi Mike and I like to go running, and oftentimes with one of our colleagues, Rabbi Josh from Temple Israel down the street, who I know is watching, so a special shout out to him, or he will be watching later. He's probably not. He's got his own service that he's doing, but I want to make sure he knows I'm giving him credit for one of the ideas that I'm going to share with you in a moment. Because we talked about that same question as we were running today and thinking about our prayers, what they mean to us and how they relate to us as well. And Rabbi Josh connected me with, shared a teaching with me that I'm going to share with you in a moment that was connected to this week's Torah portion. This week we read from the end of the book of Numbers. from a double portion known as Matot Masai. Matot means tribes, and it starts off actually talking about the vows that we make, the oaths that we enter into, but then goes into talking about at the end of the portion, talking about two of the tribes, the tribe of Reuben and the tribe of Gad, that go to Moses and Eleazar the priest and say, can we not go into the land of Eretz Yisrael when it's time? Can we stay here east of the Jordan River because it would be good for our cattle? And that's what we do. We're cattle people. Masai, the next portion, means journeys. And in there we see a record of all the different places that the Israelites stopped during our 40 years of wandering in the desert. But it was that idea that's in Matot that I want to go back to for a moment. The idea of the oaths that we take, the promises, the vows that we enter into. And the teaching that he shared with me comes from a rabbi by the name of Mordechai Schiffman that said when we talk about our oaths, when we make an oath, we're really entering into a commitment, and that we're more inclined to actually follow that commitment and that commandment that we go into, that we make. And he points out that our oath that we make could actually be a commandment that we've already been given. And so why would it be that you need to make an oath, say I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do this, when we already know that we're supposed to? And he said the oath functions as an even more intense motivator than the original law. So for us, as we think about it, the same is really true for us. That when we say something, that it reminds us of what we're supposed to do, what we hope to do. And it becomes that motivator for us, that reminder. So for us tonight, as we join together in our prayer, I hope that they're a motivator for all of us. That as we say these words, they remind us of what we want to do, how we want to do things. So for a moment, I invite you to close your eyes, to listen to the silence, the wind, and just be present. In Hebrew, the word for oath is shavua, or neder. In your mind, repeat that word to yourself of an oath or a vow, in Hebrew or in English. And then think about what are the vows that you've made, that you've committed to. And what's a vow that you want to make for the future? A promise to yourself of what you want to do, how you want to do something. What's that oath for you? A commitment. Say it to yourself in your mind. Repeat it. So that tonight, let it be that motivator for you. And it reminds you of this is what you hope to accomplish. Just as we join together in our prayers and hope that they too motivate us.
We welcome you with open arms, with joy and hope, with prayer and love. We welcome you with trust and pride, with history and with family. Hineni, here I am. I come with peace of mind. I know just where I stand. Here I am. Here I am.
We rise together for our call to worship, the words of the Baruch Hu.
La 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 as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Rabbi Ephraim Visual Shapiro of a small town in Poland was one of the great early Hasidic rabbis. A student in the quarter of the 19th century of Rabbi Dov Ber of Mezrich, who was the Yid of Mezrich, who was a student of the Baal. So, 3 rabbis down, Baal Shem Tov was his teacher. And he was particularly a Kabbalist, a spiritual, meditative man, and he had a lot of unique traditions. So his students, they gave him the name Rabbi Fishula. That was his middle name. It was a cute name. And Rabbi Fishula had a tradition every day, a ritual, actually every night. Every night before going to sleep, he'd pour himself a glass of vodka, and he'd hold it up, and he'd say the bracha over that, and then he'd say, L'chaim, Rabbona Shalom, to life, master of the universe. And then he'd go to sleep after having a little bit of vodka. The students heard of his tradition, of his ritual, and they asked him, well, why would you do this? Why are you doing this? And he says, well, isn't it true that God feels the suffering of humanity, of all people? He said, yeah, when People are hurt. When people suffer, God feels that. We know in the story of the Exodus from Egypt when the Israelites cross the Sea of Reeds on dry land and the waters crash upon the Egyptians and the Israelites initially rejoice and the angels rejoice. God yells at the angels and says, my creatures are perishing, my creatures are suffering, this isn't good. So we know when humanity is hurting, God hurts. So a student said, oh, of course. I said, well, if that's the case, then wouldn't the opposite be true? If humanity is joyous and happy and feeling good, isn't God joyous and happy and feeling good? And the student said, oh, I guess so. Well, then, if there's no suffering in the world, then wouldn't God be joyous? So by wishing God a good night, that means humanity is okay. And so he said, with his vodka, good night. You know, we talk about our prayers and what they do for us. And they're a reminder of what we can control in this world and ourselves and what we can't, what's beyond us, what we don't understand. But the realities of the importance of finding the blessings, of focusing on what we can give thanks for in our own lives. The very air we breathe, the perspective that we feel around us, the goodness in community, voices of children that remind us of the fact that they're not going home with us. Life's so good. And that we all can appreciate that as well. Oh, it wasn't what I said. Sure his brother did it. But
That's what you said.
That perspective, that reality of what we appreciate and what we feel. That's why we have Shabbat, as a moment to pause and reflect and recognize. And to say, we hope for the continuation of that which is a blessing tomorrow. And we hope for that which is difficult, that which is suffering, to be alleviated, not just from our lives, but our world. For an end to pain for anyone. And we'll do everything we can to make our work better. We understand saying that it's our responsibility as well. And so as we say, Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, spread over us a shelter of peace, to protect us, to keep us safe, to keep us together.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'amidenu malkeinu ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha l'chaim u'shalom me'ata v'yad Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Ushmor tzeitenu Amitenu Malkeinu L'chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'shalom Amitenu Malkeinu L'chaim.
I forgot to ask you that part. You know, we're taught that our prayers are a mountain that you climb up to, and you get to the top, and it's the central prayers of worship, the Amidah, and then we sort of descend back down. And it's the idea that our perspective builds up to this idea of prayers that we repeat each week and then come back down and release us in a sense. And the idea of the Amidah, the central prayers of worship, we're linked to those who came before us, right? We talk about Elohei Avraham, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, God of Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and the connections we have, and that we're not new at this, and yet we're still equally as confused as they are in trying to figure out this world, and that's okay. But we each have this connection with God, and in celebrating that and honoring that, we figure out who we are in our own identity, our own lives. And then we go on to the rest of the prayers, the Amidah, the Tagibor, where we give thanks for God who brings into our world that are majestic, magnificent, awe-inspiring, and also in caring for us and lifting us up. And so I think that's why one of the most important times in the prayers is sort of that preparation moment, where we say those words, may you, God, my rock and my redeemer. And that idea of getting ready for that moment. But as we know, there are a lot of ways that we can pray, a lot of ways that we can find that introspection. Blessed to have music that helps us with that, and poetry as well. And Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel said, you know, not only is Shabbat an island in time, not only is Shabbat a moment that is set apart from the rest of our world ceases to be what it was for the rest of the days. And everything changes in that moment. And for those of you who have been to Israel, you know that feeling where everything winds down and builds up to this moment of joy. And that's his poem that our friend Dan Nichols put to music, that reminds us that Shabbat is this sense of eternity that helps us appreciate the world we're in as well.
The thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind, joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering the song in the silence of the night. And eternity utters a day, and eternity utters a day. The thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind, joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering the song in the silence of the night, and eternity utters a day, and eternity utters a day. Adonai, Sfatai, Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi, Yagid Tehilatecha. Adonai, Sfatai, Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi, Yagid Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh HaKol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo V'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah, Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol V'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayem Emunato, Mishenei Afar, Micha Bal Gevurot, U'Midom Melach, Melech Meimit U'Mechayeh, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, V'Ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
As a community, in the presence of Torah, we take our Torah out because its words have given us strength for thousands of years. And so we hope as we walk around with Torah now, that it continue to give us and our loved ones that strength so that we can move towards a refuah shlema, a complete healing of mind, of body, and of spirit. As a community, we think of our friends and family, Alyssa Ayudo, Larry Burke, Karen Kasman, Heron Chudnow, Marvin Cohen, Molly Coden, Barbara Esrig, Sandy Flair, Gracie Goldman, Joseph Goldring, Lola Goldring, Sandy Gorash, Batia Batbeshia Panina, Charles Gross, Susan Gorelnik, Hank Heiser, Helen Indianer, Jane Jacobs, Ephraim Kessler, Serafina Coffrin, Art Lazar, Marta Lazar, Henry Leopold, Barry Levine, Bernie Lublin, Libby McIntyre, Zoe Marcus, Beth Margolin, Joyce Meza, Nancy Morrow, Perry Moss, Lori Moss, Scott Miles, Kate Negron, Rabbi Robert Nosenchuk, Razel Bat Leah Miriam, Leah Elisheva Bat Avram Bachana, Eileen Porcelli, Melanie Pohl, James Raftery, Joanne Reed, Leslie Herelick Ritchie, Alan Rosen, Morgan Ross, the Saint Amand family, Micha Chuna Ben Sima Freda, Amy Selmanoff, Danny Shepard, Barbara Storm, Andrea Switch, Naomi White, Connie Woolberg, Helene Wolf, all those battling the coronavirus, the 53,117 American troops who have been injured in Iraq, Afghanistan, and the surrounding areas to date, those injured and unaccounted for the devastation in Surfside, Florida, as well as all the names in our hearts. May God grant them a refuah shlema, complete healing of mind, of body, and of spirit.
Of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Standing as a community, remembering together, is one of the most important things that we can do, especially in the most difficult of times this past year when we were alone in the midst of loss. And so reminding ourselves of why we come together as a community, why we support each other, is that we remember together as well. And by honoring the memories, we strengthen ourselves and we strengthen those memories too. The values that friends, family, loved ones gave to us, and why it reminds us of how important it is to be a part of that which is beyond ourselves. In that spirit, we think of those who have been taken from our midst in this past week and month whose Shloshim we mark, friends and family of our congregation, Sharon Meisel, Albert Kroll, Stephen Horwitz, Jordan Cronin, Grace Geraldine Carafelli, Ed Egan, Charlene Meyerson Lazelle, Barbara Cohen, Angela Liberati, as well as the 64 confirmed deaths from Surfside in Florida and the partial building collapse, the 7,038 Americans of our armed forces who have been killed in Iraq, Afghanistan, the surrounding areas to date, and the 606,682 Americans who have lost their lives to the coronavirus. And linking their names and names whose yortzites we mark on the Shabbat. Those anniversary of passing we lovingly commemorate: Norman Barrow, Thelma Barnett, Samuel Baum, Al Binder, Dr. Leonard Crane, Perky Ellison, Marcy Felk, Robert Fisher, Harold Gatch, Jackie Gage, Lisa Lynn Glass, Sophie Goldman, Sidney Gorman, Benjamin Greenfield, Leo Harris, Lorraine Herschelman, Seymour Heyman, Seymour Jaffe, Benjamin Janauer, Ted Kazander, Zish Kanarik, Gerald Kirshner, Lottie Coltoneau, Hi Levine, Cy Lisno, William Michaels, Anna Moroff, Harry Merkin, Lev Pevsner, Miriam Picard, Blanche Robinson, Elliot Rott, Paul Rubenstein, Leslie Silver, Shirley Finkelstein-Silver, Shirley Sittner, Joseph Tadelbaum, Julius Tadelbaum, Maury Wexler, Becky Yarofsky, and Jerry Zuckerman. And linking their names to all the names that we do not recite on this Shabbat, those of every faith and family, those whose lives have touched ours, so as well as those who have known to stand and say Kaddish for them. So do we join together as one family, as one community, as we recite the immortal words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divra chirate v'almich malchute, b'chayachon uvyomechon uchaye dechol beit Yisrael, bagala uvizman kariv v'imru. Yehi shmei Rabbah v'varach olam amaya, yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit roman v'yit naseh. Vinadar, Vinala, Vinalal, Shemed Kunesha, Brechu, Aramin Ku Berachata Bashirata, Tush Bachata Benechamata, Daram Biama Vimru, Amen. Yehe Shlomo Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu V'yakul Yisrael, Vimru, Amen. Ose Shalom B'mermav, Huya Ase Shalom, Aleinu V'yakul Yisrael, Vimru. Is source of peace, and peace to those who mourn, and comfort to those who are bereaved, here and everywhere. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated.
Oseh shalom bimrama, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru. Oseh shalom bimrama, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Good Shabbos, everyone.
Good Shabbos.
It's a beautiful day to be able to join together, and a great way to be able to start our Shabbat. And as we do that, as we always do, we'll take a moment for Tish questions.
You can ask questions of Tish, anything you're curious. It works. Oh, and I have to get off. Just kidding. She might be watching services. I'm kidding, Mom. Just joking. I would never. So, a question. Yes, Ida. Thank you. Save me. The wedding wall. This was a gift from Daniel and Susie Schwartz. And so I think Susie found the tiles and fell in love with the artist and had it installed this way as well. And the idea was that, and is that we call it the wedding wall because sometimes we do an outdoor wedding outside. And so there's poles that came from the top there that canopy draped over for a chuppah. And it's beautiful and elegant, and it worked for a while, but it's a really tall chuppah. And so often when we're doing a wedding outside, we find it's much smaller, and people are holding the chuppah themselves. You know, it's 25 people. It's not, so people, but we like, it's a beautiful backdrop for a wedding that we use as well. And it is a fountain actually as well. And because it was so cold in June and early July, we haven't been able to get it on yet, I think that's the reason. It does cascade. It does. And there's a puddle down there. You can turn me off now? Well, Rabbi, you already knew you could turn me on. God, it's so bad. But yes, no, it's part of the artwork and the history of temple. And Rabbi Schwartz is going to do something special on Yom Kippur afternoon, sort of a guided tour, Rabbi Daniel Schwartz, a guided tour of the architecture and some of the art of temple with Joel Smith, our architect. Joel doesn't know that, and if he's watching services right now, he's a member of temple and he spends Yom Kippur with us, but he doesn't know that I'm asking him to do that with Daniel. Don't tell him. I'll ask. Other questions? No, not. You turn me off again. Well, we give thanks for the sweetness of this day and the joy of Shabbat. As Cantor raises up a glass of vodka. See if you're paying attention.
Join me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pori hagafen. Amen.
I'm out and have all sorts of fun with this sound today. Every week. One week we'll get it right.
You know, Rabbi,
Oh my.
your microphone's so bad this week.
I'm taking off next week.
You're not here next week. Get out of here. You're not allowed back. Hey, who gets the Chal lottery this week? I don't know, but let's sing Motzi together and we'll find out soon. But I see a lot of children.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Since the Negrons and Schwartzes are in the same pod,
Okay.
you guys
come
get
on.
to share. Mike is going to break it open as we rise together for our closing benediction. Share together, guys.
Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God protect you. May God always be with you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichur
May God shine upon you, and may God shine through you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha vayisem lecha shalom.
May God always be a part of who we are, to see the innocence and joy in children and the wisdom of community and togetherness, seeing the blessings that we find in the clear sky and the clear air and the opportunity to experience that and relish it and find love in our life as well. And most of all, to bless us with shalom, with peace. Amen.
Vayisem lecha shalom. Shabbat shalom. Good Shabbos, everyone. That's so cute. Hi.